Hi, welcome. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, and this is another week and another episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. This is episode 49. Welcome, thank you for stopping by and watching this week's episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. Let me start by a photography tip, like last week. If you use, especially when you use an SLR camera, to protect your lens, get a filter. Put a filter on your lens to protect it. We very commonly use just a UV filters because UV filters are quite cheap. They don't reduce the amount of light that's getting into your lens. They just protect it. They also increase the quality of the images quite often, especially when you're in the sunny weather outside within the mountains. So put a UV filter on your lens and protect it. Because, you know, if something, well, let's say your camera falls down and you damage the UV filter will only cost you like 10–20 pounds. The lens will cost you hundreds of pounds, or sometimes even more. So put a filter on your lens to protect it, get a UV filter, just check the size of the screw on the lens, and here you go. Okay, we use very common UV filters on lenses. Alright, let's jump into one of the tutorials, one of this week's tutorials. I'm going to start with a tutorial in Lightroom. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to show you in Lightroom, just watch it for yourself and see what you get. So let's jump into Lightroom. I'll be using Lightroom 3, and I will see you in a few minutes back here. Okay, here I am inside of Lightroom, and this time I'm going to share with you some quick tips and tricks in Lightroom in the library module when importing images. I've got a bunch of images here that I've just imported, and one of the things I want to do is I want to quickly apply some keywords to them. Okay? Now if I select any of the images here and quickly look into the keywording section in the library panel and notice the keywords here. So I've got Brecon Beacons, Wells and Value. Now what I also wanted to add is the actual name of the mountain range that I want to, which is Black Mountains. And I'm going to apply it to all the images here because these are all images from Black Mountains. Okay, so I'm just going to select the first image and just press Ctrl A on Windows or Command A on the Mac. And in the keywording section in the library panel, I'll just type in comma space and then Black Mountains. Okay. Now this keyword, I press Enter, is going to be applied to every image that's selected. Okay. Now what if I want to add maybe keyword to just a couple of images, maybe some macro. For example, I've got some macro shots here. Well, first of all, I'm going to deselect everything. So Control D or Command D on the Mac, and I'll highlight these images here. This time I'm using Shift key, so I've selected the first image, hold the Shift key and select the last image. And in here, back in the keywording section in the library panel, I'm going to add a comma, space and macro. I've used macro before, so the code key comes up, so I can just double click on it, and it says macro. Oh, macro. Okay, macro. Okay, notice that the keywords in the keywording section are sorted alphabetically. Okay, so there's Black Mountains, Brecon Beacons, macro, Wells and Value. Okay, I'll just press Enter to accept it or return. Now another tip for you, in the keywording list here you can see how many images have keywords applied, but it gets even better than that. Because I have some images highlighted, the images that the keywords that apply to these images have check marks next to them. Okay, for example, Brecon Beacons, Black Mountains, okay, and also macro. Now if you look on Brecon Beacons, for example, I can see that 104 images have this keyword applied to it. Okay, so what I can do is I can come to here, there's an arrow here, okay, on the right hand side, and I can click on it, and this is going to open all the images that have Brecon Beacons keyword applied to them. So I've got some older images from Brecon Beacons, from my previous trips to Brecon Beacons. Okay. All the images with the keyword are here. So that's how you can quickly and easily find images. Okay. By just looking through the keyword list. Lightroom lists all the keywords that appear within your images here. For example, in my library here, now let me just go back to Brecon Beacons folder, the last one. These are all my images. I've got 14,000 images. And just an example. I remember I have an image of two of my old friends that we used to go into the mountains together back in high school. But I don't remember where this image is because I don't remember which year it was. It might have been 1995, 1996, maybe 1994 or 1993. I'm not sure about that. What I remember is the names, the names. So I know this should be somewhere here, but I don't remember which folder it is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to navigate to my... I'm in the library module. I'm going to select my... Well, I don't even have to select anything here, really. I'll go straight to my keywording section in the library panel, and scrolling down, I'm going to look for a name. This one here. And I'm just going to click on it. Okay, that's the image of my friends. Just going to double click on it. That's one, and that's another one. This is our old photograph, okay, that I found by simply selecting the keyword here. As simple as that. Okay. So that's how quickly I can find images. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this mysterious tutorial in Lightroom. I've got one more for you. This will be another mysterious tutorial. So let's just give me a second. I've got a tip for you. Now, when you export your images from Photoshop, let's say you're going to put them online, quite often you want to preview the images and you want to decide what file format you'll be using. So there's a great feature in Photoshop called Save for Web and Devices, where you can first of all preview the images so you can see what it looks like when you export it. You can preview different file formats, and you can make it as small as possible with a good quality. It's especially designed for this purpose, for exporting for the web. And depending on what image it is, you'll be using different file formats. Sometimes JPEG won't be the best file format. It really depends on your image. Okay, so let me show you that. Let's jump into Photoshop and let's have a look on Save for Web and Devices and how to export different kinds of images, what file format to choose, and how to reduce the file size. Okay, this time we'll talk about Save for Web and Devices in Photoshop. And I'm going to show you two different examples, two different images. Let's start with this image here. I've got an image that I recently took in Black Mountains in Brecon Beacons Massif in Wales, in Britain. And I'm going to put it on my blog. And so I want to use Save for Web and Devices to optimize it. One of the great features of Save for Web and Devices is that, first of all, I can preview the image. So I can see what it looks like when I export it. Okay, so you can test it, you can preview the image and tweak these settings and see how the image changes. And that's the whole purpose of using Save for Web and Devices, because you're going to put the image online and you want to make sure that it looks good, but it's quite small in terms of file size. So let's jump into Save for Web and Devices, File, Save for Web and Devices. There's actually a keyboard shortcut here, Alt Shift Control S. I could use the keyboard shortcut to access Save for Web and Devices. It opens in its own window, and you can make it as big or as small as you want. And I'm going to, if you click on To Up tab here, you can see the original image and the export image. Okay, so if you click on this export image, you can decide on the file format. Now, because it's a photograph, it's clearly best as JPEG. So I'm going to select JPEG. For convert to sRGB, I'm going to use Internet Standard RGB, no color management, because most people will have the monitors not calibrated. So I'm going to leave it on that. So JPEG is a definite choice here. Now let's start customizing it. Because of the nature of the JPEG images, to reduce the file size, at the moment it's 40.5 kilobytes, you just reduce the quality. And you go down with the quality and then see what the image looks like. With my setting at 80%, the image looks very good. No pixelation here. I'm going to try to reduce it to, let's say, about 70%. Okay. It still looks okay. I can see a slight grain in the piece here, but it still looks okay. I'll try to go down to about 60%. and I'll just click here to deselect this quality slider. Now this starts looking pixelated, so I'm going to set it back to 70%, which looks good. Okay, I'll leave the image size on the same size, 450 by 300 pixels, and I'll just click Save to save it. And I'll save it as a JPEG. I'm just going to give it a different name, and save. Okay, now another example. I'm going to take a screenshot of a website. Let's say maybe this one here. I'll just press print screen on my keyboard, back into Photoshop. I'll create a new document, File New, clipboard, that's fine, yeah, just press OK, and I'll paste it, Control V. Now this is too big, so I'm going to crop it using crop tool. I'll just crop that, maybe something like that, maybe including the background. Okay, crop that, and then I'll jump into Save for Weapon Devices, File, Save for Weapon Devices. I will resize it because it's too big. So in the image size, I'm going to change the width, which will automatically change the height because there's a chain icon here. I'll make that, let's say, 500 as well, because it goes for the blog. It says 500 by 294 pixels. Because I'm reducing it down, I'm scaling it down, I'll set the quality to bicubic sharper. Bicubic sharper is best for reducing images. Now, I'm going to set up as a JPEG, and with quality 70%, it's 49 kilobytes, and looks okay. But I'm actually going to try PNG, PNG 8. Okay. Now it's similar size, 43 kilobytes, but in this case it doesn't look as good as the other one. Now the thing here is that it looks great on the main document here, but doesn't look good on the background, because there's a great variety of colors and shadows and highlights in the background. So if I were to use just the content on the page here, that would be great as a PNG, okay? Or at least PNG 8. Because there's a big variety of colors here, it will go as JPEG as well, and a similar file size, 49 kilobytes. Okay, then just save it and give it a name. Okay, and that's a quick tutorial on using Save for Weapon Devices in Adobe Photoshop CS5. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Photoshop. Now we're almost done for this week. I've just got one more tip for you, and this tip of the week this time will be about photography. And this tip of the week will be actually about polarizing filters. Okay? If you've never used a polarizing filter and you do take images outdoors, get one. They increase the quality of your images outside. They remove the reflections from images. So for example, if you take an image through the window of the shop, polarizing filter would be fantastic. Or let's say you're taking images outdoors, in the mountains, or in the nature. The polarizing filter will increase the quality of the image. The blues will be really blue and greens will be really green. It does really make a difference. And there's lots of polarizing filters out there. Of course, the best one would be the circular, and you can change the effect. Okay, the slides, right? And there's a number of filters. I'm actually using a Hoya filter, and I'm really happy with that. Really good filter. The polarizing filters cost more than UV filters. They usually cost anything between £50 and 100, or probably even more than £100. But they're a really good investment. I use them quite a lot in the mountains and anywhere outdoors. So get yourself a polarizing filter. And thank you for watching this week's episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training. Visit my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, for all the information, tips, tricks and tutorials. And I will see you next week on Photoshop Lightroom TV. Thank you for stopping by. Bye bye.